aware of any threats? Was your team aware of any threats beforehand? And do you believe you were the target of this tonight?
I guess. I mean, these people they're crazy. They're crazy, and you never know. It was very far away from me. He had to go through a lot. We had resources all over. We had resources sitting at tables, literally in disguise, sitting maybe at your table. Who knows? But we had people all over the room, so he had a long way to go. That was really a first line of defense, and they got him. And they really, they acted incredibly. No, there was no notification. We had no idea. Go ahead, Kevin.
Do you know any political motivations from this?
Well, you never know. Now, we'll be able to tell you that maybe by tomorrow or the next day. He's in custody, and they're asking him a lot of questions. I guess they're going over, Todd, and they're already at his apartment. He lives in California.
Yes, sir.
And they're over there, so they'll be able to tell you. Thank you, Caitlin.
President Trump, did the suspect say anything, or was he wearing anything that would allege some type of motive here?
Nothing. No. I mean, he was a guy who looked pretty evil when he was down. They had him down. He was fighting hard. He was in my opinion, a sick person. Who would do that but a sick person? But I think you're going to find everything about him. No reason to talk about it now. But tomorrow at this time, long before this time, you're going to know a lot of things about him. They seem to think he was a lone wolf, and I feel that too.
Are you concerned about U.S. Secret Service protection ability? We saw several of the detailees take minutes to be escorted out the room.
No, they acted very quickly. No, I was very impressed by Secret Service. I mean, I'm the one, and Mark Wayne, you would agree with that, I think.
Absolutely.
I'm the one that would complain. You don't have to complain for me. I would be complaining. I'd be up here right now saying they didn't do their job. Oh, believe me, because, it's my life. And I want to live because I want to make this country great. That's why I want to live. But when you're impactful, they go after you. When you're not impactful, they leave you alone. Okay, a couple of more. Go ahead, please.
Is there any indication that this shooting could have been linked to the war in Iran?
I don't think so. You never know. We're going to know a lot. We have the best people in the world working on it, and we're going to know a lot. Please.
President, there's a lot. You, as well as some of us who have covered Butler, experienced another horrific day 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What felt similar? You had the First Lady with you today. What felt different? And you have another 2+ years in office. Are you concerned about something like this happening?
Well, I can't be concerned. I can only get great people. They did the job. In my opinion, a much better job than Butler. Butler had one weak spot that we all know about. Somebody should have been up there. But even Butler, we had our sniper on our side within 4.2 seconds from a distance of about 400 yards. One shot, and he was gone. And if he didn't do it, now, he's David. His name was David. I say, hello, David, every time I see him. David, I like you very much, David. But think of that. Now, if he doesn't hit him, and he hit him right between the eyes from 400 yards without any notice, nobody knew. He heard a sound. He looked over, and there was actually a tree that was somewhat in his way. You know the story very well. And he aimed, he fired. And if he didn't do that, beyond me, you would have had a lot more people killed. We lost one great person and 2 people very badly hurt. They're okay now. But no, that was so. In a sense, it was pretty amazing the job they did. But they did have that one weak spot. As you know, they should have had that covered. Tonight they had everything covered very quickly, and he was fast. He was running full blast, and they got him before they got any further. I was very far away. He hadn't anywhere close to breach the doors of the ballroom. The ballroom was sealed, and everybody in there. That's why once those doors opened, they didn't want to do tonight. If the doors weren't opened, we could have probably done it tonight. But I think we're much better off rescheduling. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, for you and perhaps law enforcement as well, what is the level of confidence that this was a lone actor, and has the suspect made any statements to police while in custody?
Yeah, I think it's just it's my profession. We have great professionals up here and outside that have been working with us. My impression is he was a lone wolf, whack job. These are crazy people. And they have to be dealt with. We had that in the second attempt. as you know, and he's spending life in prison. Because if you let him out, they'll probably, if he serves 10 years or 15 years, you let him out, he'll probably try it again with somebody else. They're sick people. We have a lot of sick people. But you're going to know, I think very shortly, you're going to know, Todd, a lot about him. You're going to know a lot about him. Yeah, a couple of more. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Are you concerned about political violence? This could be politically motivated.
All violence. I'm concerned about everything. Look, but I can't be so concerned that you can't function. No, I'm here. It's a dangerous profession. I tell the story, race car drivers, I think it's very dangerous. So you take 1% and then take about 10% of 1%, just to break it down very easily, they die. So much less than 1%, 10% of 1%. I think bull riding is very dangerous. If you take about the same, 10% of 1%, much less than 1%. But if you take presidents, it's 5.8%. And about 8% are shot at. So nobody told me this was such a dangerous profession. If Marco would have told me, maybe I wouldn't have run. Maybe I would have said, I'll take a pass. No, it's a dangerous profession, but I don't view it that way. Look, I'm here to do a job. As part of the job, it is a dangerous. I can't imagine that there's any profession that's more dangerous. But I love the country, and I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the job we've done. You see what's happened. We have a great country. We've got, I think, the most successful, the hottest country anywhere in the world. This happened over a period of just a year, and we're going to do great things. But with that come risks. There's no question about it. Yeah.
To that end, I mean, there's been so much political violence, not just aimed at yourself, but at other members of Congress, state house speakers, you name it. Is that just the cost of doing business to do politics in America anymore?
Yeah, well,
what does that say about our country?
Too. We're not the only country. You look at this great violence with all countries. I was talking to somebody from another country today, and they have numerous assassinations of political figures all over the world. You look at South America, it's like some of the numbers are just horrific. It's dangerous. It's dangerous stuff, whether it's here or someplace else. No country is immune. No country. Good question.
At this point?
Well, probably if I decided to just not do much, if I let everybody rip us off and take advantage of us. Look, we're leading the world in trade now. We're leading the world in the military. We're the greatest military in the world. I rebuilt it in my first term, and now we use it because we have no choice. We can't let, as an example, Iran, we can't let them get a nuclear weapon. Everything will be peanuts compared to that if they ever were given a nuclear weapon, and they'd use it too. Marco and I were talking about it today. They would use it without even hesitation. We can't do that. It was a shame. I said, oh boy, look at the numbers. We just broke 50,000 in the Dow. We just broke 7,000 in the S&P. They said we couldn't do it in 7 years, in 5 years, 4 years. They were saying maybe in 5 or 6 years. And we did it in 1 year. And I called everybody together. I called all of these people and others, and I said, we have to take a little journey. I seek to do this. We just had the great number. We just broke 50,000. Wasn't supposed to happen during my term. Wasn't reachable. Did it in 1 year, and I said, we're going to have to make a journey to Iran. They're going to have a nuclear weapon if we don't do it. We had the B-2 bombers take them out. I terminated in the first term the Obama agreement, the Iran nuclear agreement, which was a disaster. That was a road to a nuclear weapon. They would have used it. They would have used it 100%. So, when you do things like that, you become a target. If I wasn't doing that, I guess I'd be a lot less of a target. But I'm honored to be. Okay, one more question. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, President Trump. Do you know how the gun was brought into the hotel? And also, how does this event impact you as the leader of our country? Do you think it will change your
I
leadership?
like not to think about it. I lead a pretty normal life, considering it's a dangerous life. I think I handle it as well as it can be handled. I think a lot of other people, you read stories where they become basket cases. To be honest with you, I'm not a basket case. I really take it as it is. I do it for the country. I'm not doing it for any other reason. I have a first lady who's doing a terrific job. She loves the country. and she recognizes it better than anybody. She's told me numerous times. She said, "You are in a dangerous job," but that goes along with her too. I mean, it's dangerous for her too. We sat there tonight. We heard that noise, and it was either a tray or a bullet. I was hoping it was a tray, but it wasn't. And again, we had some very brave people doing a great job, so we're very proud of them and happy with them. I just want to thank everybody. They will be able to give you all that information as to the names and everything else. I think we released the names already. Most of you would have it, but his name. We appreciate it. I see so many tuxedos and beautiful dresses. It was a little different evening than we thought, but we're going to do it again, and we have a great chairman who we're so proud of, and we have to make it better. We'll make it safer, I guess, right? But we're going to make it even better. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Can we hear from her about how impactful this was? Can we hear from her about...
Well, honey, would you want to say something?
Okay.
Huh?
In the back.
One in the back, sir.
Right.
Many of the people across the globe, in fact, are watching you. You demonstrated courageous leadership, and thank God you're alive. All of us are alive today. What is the message that you want to give to the world that this should change? What corrective measures can we take from here on? So.
Well, all you can do, look, I don't care how many people you have, how good they are. They can be the greatest people. You have the greatest security in history. If you have a whack job who's got a brain, but it's a little bit distorted or a lot distorted, they can make trouble. I would say, Pete, right? You know, they can make trouble. Some of these people are of genius level IQ, and they're nuts. So it can be trouble. So you do absolutely the best. You get the best. We have the best people. Well, look, it was proven tonight. He started running from 50 yards, and he was fast. He was like a blur on tape. He was moving. It was very impressive the way they got him. Because a lot of people would be looking and saying, you know, it's like a weird feeling. And they would let him get through, but they didn't let him get through. They drew those guns so fast. They looked like Matt Dillon. They looked like somebody that knew what they were doing. What do we do? But it comes with the territory. And if you want to do a great job, I really believe that. And you take a look at what's happened to some of our greatest presidents, and it doesn't happen to people that don't do anything. And it's not going to deter me from winning the war in Iran. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I really don't think so. Based on freedom of speech, that was supposed to bring together members of both parties with members of the press. And in a certain way it did, because the fact that they just unified, I saw a room that was just totally unified. It was in one way a very beautiful thing to see. A man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly and have just released, for purposes of transparency, clarity, I've ordered it to be put out. You probably have it by now. Put out on Truth and put out on many other platforms. A tape showing the violence of this thug that attacked our Constitution, and also showing how quickly Secret Service and law enforcement acted on our country's behalf. Really did a great job. One officer was shot, but saved by the fact that he was wearing obviously a very good bulletproof vest. He was shot from very close distance with a very powerful gun, and the vest did the job. I just spoke to the officer, and he's doing great. He's in great shape. He has very high spirits, and we told him we love him and respect him, and he's a very proud guy. He's very proud of what he does, Secret Service agent. And we looked at all of the conditions that took place tonight, and I will say, you know, it's not a particularly secure building. And I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it. They've wanted the ballroom for 150 years for lots of different reasons, but today's a little bit different because today we need levels of security that probably nobody's ever seen before. But everyone owes a tremendous debt of gratitude to the courage of law enforcement, the law enforcement, and working with the D.C. police. And we just spoke with the mayor. And when we're finished, the police chief is going to take over and discuss it also from their viewpoint. But they also performed exactly as they were supposed to. And you see the attacker in different positions, but you also see the attacker totally subdued and under control. So as you know, this is not the first time in the past couple of years that our republic has been attacked by a would-be assassin who sought to kill. In Butler, Pennsylvania, less than 2 years ago, you all know that story, and in Palm Beach, Florida, a few months after that, we came close. We really had, again, we had some great work done by law enforcement. But in light of this evening's events, I ask that all Americans recommit with their hearts in resolving our difference peacefully. We have to resolve our differences. I will say, you had Republicans, Democrats, independents, conservatives, liberals, and progressives. Those words are interchangeable, perhaps, but maybe they're not. But yet everybody in that room, big crowd, record-setting crowd. There was a record-setting group of people, and there was a tremendous amount of love and coming together. I watched, and I was very, very impressed by that. But First Lady and I were taken very well care of, very quickly rushed off the stage. Vice President J.D. Vance, who's here, was likewise beautifully done. He was just saying how quickly everybody acted, law enforcement, Secret Service in particular in this case, but law enforcement. Marco had the same thing. Pete was there. Pete didn't want any help. He didn't want anybody to help. He doesn't want anybody to help him, but he did get some, didn't you? And I think you also said that it was very impressive. So with that, I'd like to ask Todd Blanche to come up, say a few words, and tell you it's already underway. The man has been captured. They're going to his apartment. I guess he lives in California, and he's a sick person, a very sick person, and we don't want things like this to happen. I think it's very important that I say, though, and I told the representatives of the evening, they did such a beautiful job. It was such a beautiful evening. And again, they're talking about free speech in our Constitution. That's what it's all about, not just White House correspondence. It was really based on free speech in our Constitution. But I said very importantly that we'll do it again within the next 30 days, and we'll make it bigger and better and even nicer. So I just want to thank everybody that was involved. I also want to thank the press, the media. You've been very responsible in your coverage. I will say I've been seeing what's been out. You've been very responsible. So Todd Blanche, I'd like to say a few words, and then we're going to have cash. And then you're going to go on. We can ask, I guess, questions. I want to thank the First Lady for, that was a rather traumatic experience for her. There was a lot of action taking place up there very quickly. But again, the response time was really incredible. And we're going to reschedule. We're going to do it again. We're not going to let anybody take over our society. We're not going to cancel things out because we can't do that. We wanted to stay tonight. I will tell you, I fought like hell to stay. But it was protocol. They said, please, sir, because they didn't know there was a lot of action going on, and they didn't know could there be probably a lone shooter, but we'll find out. We'll find out very quickly. They have it very well under control. So I want to thank everybody very much. And Todd Blanche, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Tonight you saw the very worst and the very best of this country. You saw the very worst by the actions of that coward that the President just talked about. But you also saw the very best because you saw law enforcement do exactly what they're supposed to do. And you'll see the videos come out, I expect, very shortly, and you'll see law enforcement do exactly what we want them to do. And so I echo what what President Trump just said, that we are extraordinarily grateful and appreciative of the men and women of law enforcement that did their jobs tonight, including one who was injured. This investigation is ongoing. I expect you will see charges filed shortly. The charges should be self-evident, given the conduct. But as you'll hear, there will be multiple charges surrounding the shooting, around the possession of firearms, and anything else that we can get on this guy. The investigation is obviously ongoing and just started. There is federal law enforcement already working on search warrants and doing their job, and I don't want to get ahead of them and don't want to get ahead of the work that they're doing even as we speak. Director Patel and I were just on the crime scene a short while ago, and everybody in this room should rest assured that the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI, Secret Service, everybody's on the scene doing their job. I know that the police chief is going to give an update from the scene as soon as we're finished here, and I obviously will lead the details of what they have learned to him. But in the meantime, I just want to thank everybody in this room for the courage. And I want to thank President Trump for his words, and I promise you, justice will be served. Thank you. Dr. Patel.
Thank you, General. Thank you, Mr. President. The President's absolutely right. You saw the best resolve of American law enforcement because you, Mr. President, inspire them 24/7, 365. You give them the resources that they need, and they know that you have their back. And that is a changing dynamic in this country, and that's why you saw brave Secret Service agents respond immediately, swiftly, subdue and take down the suspect, and safeguard the lives of thousands of individuals at that hotel. Thanks to our interagency partnership with the Department of Homeland Security and the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI was rapidly deployed onto the scene, took over the evidence response unit, is examining all the ballistics that were found on scene, to include the long gun and the shell casings. We are conducting witness interviews as we speak. You will hear from our team on the scene there with the mayor and the head of the FBI field division there. But please know what the Attorney General has just said rings no truer. You saw the very best of America tonight. The very best unite us at a time of uncertainty, because we have leadership here with the President and Vice President that backs law enforcement, and the men and women that I shook their hands on the scene today could not have been prouder to show up on scene. And as the Attorney General said, make no mistake, we are conducting witness interviews. If you have any information whatsoever related to this event, 1-800-CALL-FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. No piece of information is too small. No piece of information is inadequate. We will evaluate it all. We will also be conducting interviews of those that were there. And if any of those individuals have information, please come forward to law enforcement or the FBI or the Metropolitan Police Department. We will be examining this individual's background thoroughly. That process has already started. And we are going to ensure that he was either a lone wolf actor or anyone else that was responsible. We will analyze all evidence immediately to make sure that we safeguard this country. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, thank you for your leadership. Attorney General and Homeland Secretary Marlin, thank you for your partnership in law enforcement.
Thank you. Okay, we'll do a couple and then we go to the chair. Madam Chairman, I just want to say you did a fantastic job. What a beautiful evening, and we're going to reschedule. Okay. And after that, it's very tough for her to ask a killer question, right? But you have done a fantastic job. Please.
Mr. President, I appreciate it. As you mentioned, it all happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And I wonder, especially because unfortunately you have experience with these sorts of threats, in that moment when you realized there was a threat and service agents were telling us to get down, can you describe what was going through your mind, how you were feeling in that moment?
That's a very good question, actually. I was told something like this happened to me a little bit, and that never changes. The fact, we were sitting right next to each other, First Lady on my right, and I heard a noise and sort of thought it was a tray. I thought it was a tray going down. You know, I've heard that many times, and it was a pretty loud noise. And it was from quite far away. He hadn't reached the area at all. They really got him. But, so it was quite far away, but it was a gun. And some people really understood that pretty quickly. Other people didn't. I was watching to see what was happening, but we should have gone down even faster. Melania was very cognizant, I think, of what happened. I think she knew immediately what happened. She was saying, it's a bad noise. And we were whisked away along with other people, but we were really whisked away. And again, the performance of the Secret Service and the police, all of the law enforcement, I thought was really good. So it was very quick. There wasn't a lot of time to be thinking, because it was a matter of seconds before we were out the door and gone into an area. We very much, and you wanted to too, we very much wanted to continue it, because I don't like to let these sick people, these thugs, these horrible, horrible people, change the fabric of our life, change the course of what we do. So we held out. You were there. We held out right till the end, but they didn't want to take a chance, and I understand there was protocol. But we're going to be doing one hopefully within the next 30 days or sooner, and I am ready, willing, and able, and I was all set to really rip it. And I said to my people, this would be the most inappropriate speech ever made if I said what. So I'll have to save it. I don't know if I could ever be as rough as I was going to be tonight. I think I'm going to be probably very nice. I'll be very boring the next time, but we're going to have a great event. And you did a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. There's a report in the New York Post that this assailant assembled his weapon somewhere on site at the hotel. What do you think about that? And I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
Well, you know, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, you go through the people that have gone through this where they got them, but the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names there, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughingstock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country. And there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. So I think that's the answer, Peter.
And after Butler, your team for a while rethought outdoor events.
Yeah.
Do you think that you now need to rethink indoor?
Usually, you're absolutely right. Usually, and there's a perimeter that's created outside, the venue, and even hotel guests are blocked from coming to that area. But it depends from hotel to hotel and individual to individual. The fact that the White House presidential dinner was to happen, correspondence dinner was to happen, was known to people. And there should have been a multi-tiered security, including hotel guests not coming into that specific area. Now, journalists in the United States right now are writing that usually there is another layer of security outside where individuals are frisked before they are permitted to come. In this instance, there was only one ticket counter at the reception, and journalists were told when you reach the Hilton Hotel, you proceed towards the ballroom, present your card at that reception, and then you're permitted to enter the ballroom. No checking, no frisking before that. No checking, no frisking even when you enter the hotel. While that does sound a little different from what protocol is. You and I would know, and people in our country know, especially post 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, hotels, virtually every hotel, they check your bags before they permit you to enter. It's put through the screening machine. You frisk individually, and then you enter the hotel. And then if there's a VVIP event, you're frisked again. And in India, the security detail is so strong that apart from a perimeter security, there's a security that's set in place before an individual is able to enter the venue. And should the Union Home Minister in India or the Prime Minister, when they are coming to a venue, the venue is checked thrice, and SPG take control of that premises a day or two in advance. In this case, there was a drill that was conducted according to reports, but were all these steps taken or not taken is a matter of investigation, and whether that multi-tiered security was reduced to just one single tier and no such thing is a matter of investigation, Anjali.
To Gaurav, the security layer was reduced at a time when there are already so much tension. There are ongoing. The West Asia war is on. The popularity has been dipping. It's at an all-time low, and there have been protests against the Trump administration.
This does sound very strange. America has been a victim of terror. India is a victim of terror. But in America, post 9/11, since a lot of strong action was already taken to deal with terror, by and large, they feel continental America is safer. However, the Trump administration has repeatedly been saying that the previous Biden administration permitted millions of people to illegally enter the United States from various borders, and especially their southern borders. From the Mexico border, there was no checking, no frisking, no checking of their documentation, and they don't know how many terrorists have slipped into their country. This is their claim. If in such a situation, despite that, security wasn't as it usually is, usually security in America is extremely tight, and especially in and around the White House. And the point that you were raising, that President Trump has been wanting his ballroom at the White House, better security, better protection. But in this case, if there was a massive breach in security, it does point to very alarming questions about why this happened, and was there a larger motive behind this. Of course, Caroline Levitt had said there is going to be something big, and the shots will be fired, but that was in another context in terms of what the presidential script about how he intended to rip journalists apart, which he himself referred to, that this time he was going to be very unsparing for journalists, but next time he's going to be very polite after this incident. And this is a very serious attempt. A third assassination attempt on one president is something really serious in the United States, and they will have to relook their security protocols. But is it linked to Iran or not is still a matter of investigation.
Absolutely, and that too in just a matter of 2 years. Third assassination bid that we're witnessing on Donald Trump. This also brings me to my next question about gun law that is in the United States. We've seen such incidents being reported oftenly from United States because of the easy availability of guns. Why is nothing being done about that?
So the gun lobby in the United States is so strong. I mean, this is America's Achilles heel. They just don't want to go after the gun lobby. Whether it's funding, whether it's from their founding fathers, when they spoke of owning a gun is an individual right, the easy availability of weapons, and it's not just because of assassination attempts. Equally serious, if not more, is the killing of children in schools. It's an absolute nightmare in the United States of America. The increasing frequency with which little children and adolescents are targeted in schools. If schools aren't safe, if somebody just opens fire at a nightclub and individuals are killed, it's an absolute disaster. Any other country would have gone for much stronger restrictions on owning a gun, on having a license. But in America, the gun lobby is so strong that despite all attempts, despite school shootings, and every time there's a school shooting, there is this talk about clamping down on making gun availability harder, on making availability of licenses harder, but ultimately the gun lobby wins.
Right. Gaurav, do stay with us. For the viewers joining us now, there has been a major security lapse, and not just a security lapse, it's a probable assassination bid on US President Donald Trump. A shooter opened fire at a venue where the White House Correspondents' Dinner was being held in Washington, D.C. It was the Hilton Hotel where this event was being held, and Donald Trump was in attendance. The First Lady was in attendance. Vice President J.D. Vance was also present at this venue, and there was shooting that was reported outside the ballroom area. Multiple shots were heard by the attendees, and that is when panic erupted inside the ballroom area. We'll show you the visuals of the same. And the guests started ducking under the tables. In these visuals, you can see J.D. Vance, the vice president, being forcefully taken out of the venue because by then he also did not have much idea of what's happening. It was in a matter of seconds that he was escorted out of the venue by the Secret Service, and that is what is being hailed by Donald Trump himself about the quick turnaround time by the Secret Service. Even before they could understand what's going on, they were escorted out of the venue. And there was complete panic at the venue, but fortunately there have been no injuries that are being reported. We will also show our viewers some fresh visuals from this incident from the venue. Dramatic images of J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, his evacuation. And we'll show you the video in which J.D. Vance ducks and takes cover after the loud bangs of the shooting were heard, and there was complete panic in the ballroom area. This is the moment when the U.S. Vice President fled to security. As you can see in this video, this is the evacuation video in which Vice President J.D. Vance can be seen. In fact, Donald Trump can also be seen the security service are evacuating safely evacuating Donald Trump and the First Lady also. There you see J.D. Vance also forcefully being taken out of the venue by the security services. So these are the close-up videos of the evacuation operation in which you can see Vice President J.D. Vance being taken out forcefully because he was also not aware of what's happening, and that is when the security service, the quick action that was taken by the Secret Service is what is being hailed by Donald Trump. And you can see how everything was carried out, how the Secret Service rushed in and forcefully took J.D. Vance out of the venue, because by then he also did not have any idea what exactly happened. Donald Trump can also be seen taking out, and the First Lady can also be seen being escorted out of the venue. Donald Trump, in fact, also stumbled once while he was being evacuated from the venue when these loud bangs were heard. So this is the video of the evacuation by the Secret Service. First, you can see J.D. Vance being taken out, and on the other side, it was Donald Trump and the First Lady being taken out by the Secret Service. And Donald Trump, in his press briefing, has expressed gratitude to the quick action and the turnaround time by the Secret Service and the evacuation that was done by the Secret Service. He has thanked the Secret Service and hailed the great work which has been done by them. So my colleague Gaurav Sawant continues to stay with us. Gaurav, now after this detail that the shooter was a hotel guest, now the remark that was made by Donald Trump that it was not a secure location and such events should be held in the White House premises, that also gains weight, because this clearly shows how hotels can be unsafe for such events in which a lot of VIPs will be in attendance, including the US President himself.
Usually, you're absolutely right. Usually, and there's a perimeter that's created outside, the venue, and even hotel guests are blocked from coming to that area. But it depends from hotel to hotel and individual to individual. The fact that the White House presidential dinner was to happen, correspondence dinner was to happen, was known to people, and there should have been a multi-tiered security, including hotel guests not coming to that specific area. Now, journalists in the United States right now are writing that usually there is another layer of security outside where individuals are frisked before they are permitted to come. In this instance, there was only one ticket counter at the reception, and journalists were told when you reach the Hilton Hotel, you proceed towards the ballroom, present your card at that reception, and then you're permitted to enter the ballroom. No checking, no frisking before that. No checking, no frisking even when you enter the hotel. While that does sound a little different from what protocol is, you and I would know, and people in our country know, especially post 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, hotels, virtually every hotel, they check your bags before they permit you to enter. It's put through the screening machine. You frisked individually, and then you enter the hotel. And then if there's a VVIP event, you're frisked again. And in India, the security detail is so strong that apart from a perimeter security, there's a security that's set in place before an individual is able to enter the venue, and should the Union Home Minister in India or the Prime Minister, when they are coming to a venue, the venue is checked twice, and SPG take control of that premises a day or two in advance. In this case, there was a drill that was conducted according to reports, but were all these steps taken or not taken is a matter of investigation, and whether that multi-tiered security was reduced to just one single tier and no system is a matter of investigation, I believe.
To Gaurav, the security layer was reduced at a time when there are already so much tension that are ongoing. The West Asia war is on. The popularity has been dipping itself. It's at an all-time low, and there have
investigations counter-terrorism team, they will carry out the investigation. So one, it's being investigated as a terror attack, and two, the background of this individual, his one information that he was linked to the Democratic Party was apparently in some way linked to Kamala Harris's campaign. How was he linked? What details do we have? How closely was he linked? Was he a volunteer? Was he a part of a closed campaign? All of those details will be examined, and then, especially in an election year when midterm elections are barely 6 months away, this does intend to be a much bigger case, and will be more details will be out in public domain in just a short while from now, perhaps.
All right, Gaurav, do stay with us. So the investigation is on. The shooter is in the custody of the Secret Service. We showed you the visuals of the shooter as well. He was pinned down, handcuffed. He was disarmed by the Secret Service, and then was taken into custody. His identity has also been revealed. He's a California resident. In fact, we also told you about how he has a Democratic Party link as well. We showed you the document from the U.S. Election Commission that mentioned how he was part of the Kamala Harris presidential campaign. In fact, right now we're showing you the video which has been posted by one of the correspondents who were present at this event, in which it is the actual moment when this firing was taking place, and the correspondents who were present there, the guests were present there, were completely confused and unaware of what was happening. They were trying to figure out what to do next. Let's also listen into Donald Trump's press briefing, what all he mentioned and what all unfolded.
I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
Well, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, you go through the people that have gone through this, where they got them. But the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names here, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughing stock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country, and there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. And that was very unexpected, but incredibly acted upon by Secret Service and law enforcement. And this was an event dedicated to freedom of speech that was supposed to bring together members of both parties with members of the press, and in a certain way it did, because the fact that they just unified, I saw a room that was just totally unified. It was in one way very beautiful. See a man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly and have just released, for purposes of transparency, clarity, I've ordered it to be put out. You probably have it by now. Put out on Truth and put out on many other platforms. A tape showing the violence of this thug that attacked our Constitution, and also showing how quickly Secret Service and law enforcement acted on our country's behalf. Really did a great job.
Tonight you saw the very worst and the very best of this country. You saw the very worst by the actions of that coward that the president just talked about. But you also saw the very best because you saw law enforcement do exactly what they're supposed to do. And you'll see the videos come out, I expect, very shortly, and you'll see law enforcement do exactly what we want them to do. And so I echo what what President Trump just said, that we are extraordinarily grateful and appreciative of the men and women of law enforcement that did their jobs tonight, including one who was injured. This investigation is ongoing. I expect you will see charges filed shortly. The charges should be self-evident given the conduct, but as you'll hear, there will be multiple charges surrounding the shooting, around the possession of firearms, and anything else that we can get on this guy. The investigation is obviously ongoing and just started. There is federal law enforcement already working on search warrants and doing their job, and I don't want to get ahead of them. I just want to thank everybody in this room for the courage, and I want to thank President Trump for his words, and I promise you, justice will be served.
The FBI was rapidly deployed onto the scene, took over the evidence response unit, is examining all the ballistics that were found on scene to include the long gun and the shell casings. We are conducting witness interviews as we speak. You will hear from our team on the scene there. We are conducting witness interviews. If you have any information whatsoever related to this event, 1-800-CALL-FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. No piece of information is too small. No piece of information is inadequate. We will evaluate it all. We will also be conducting interviews of those that were there. And if any of those individuals have information, please come forward to law enforcement or the FBI or the Metropolitan Police Department. We will be examining this individual's background thoroughly. That process has already started. And we are going to ensure that he was either a lone wolf actor or anyone else that was responsible. We will analyze all evidence immediately to make sure that we safeguard this country.
And my colleague Gaurav Sawant continues to stay with us. Gaurav, now what can be expected next in the investigation now that the identity of the shooter is out? We also have another angle that how he's linked to the Democratic Party. You've already told us about the charges. What can be expected next now?
So hopefully a very thorough investigation. There are standard operating procedures that are laid out. The counter-terrorism unit of the investigation will carry out the investigation. We saw the manner in which Kash Patel, the FBI director, gave details of one, the individual, two, effort that is being made. Kash Patel also sought every bit of information from volunteers or others who may have access to any bit of information. No information is too small, he said. Individual interviews are being carried out, eyewitness interviews are being carried out, hotel security will be spoken to, hotel CCTV cameras will be seen when this individual checked into this hotel, what was his movement inside the hotel, who was he in touch with at the hotel, did he meet other guests, did he interact with other guests, what were those interactions like, then his background in California, his house is being searched, that investigation is currently on. His mobile phone data, his banking data, his individual call list, people he was in touch with, who were the people he was going to, what society was he a part of. It's a very detailed investigation, and then there are hundreds of agents who get involved, from local police to Federal Bureau of Investigation to others. You know, they look at every bit of information. All of that data is collated, a picture formed, and then they will finally come to the conclusion whether this was actually a lone wolf back job, as President Trump initially said, or is this part of a wider conspiracy? They will also explore links with this assassination attempt and previous assassination attempts on President Trump and try and see whether there's a wider angle to it. Is it political in motive? Is there some other motive? All of this would be investigated. Usually it is a very thorough investigation. There are lessons that are learned apart from the prosecution and conviction of this individual. There are lessons to be learned in terms of best practices to be adopted for future protection of the president. You know, multi-tiered security. This individual managed to stay in the hotel and carry out an attempted assassination. Others could attempt to do that next time. So whether a wider perimeter security is required, as is usually the case, all of that is a matter of investigation, and we'll have more details soon, hopefully.
Gaurav, will this incident prompt a review of where the future high-profile events will be held from now?
Mr. Secretary, is the president going back to...
Gaurav, will this incident now prompt a more intense check and wider review of the venues which are chosen for such high-profile events in the future? All right, we'll try to fix that connection with Gaurav Sawant, who has been getting us all those details and context on all the developments that have been happening. Remember, there was a major security breach at a hotel, Hilton Hotel in Washington, D.C., where the White House Correspondents' Dinner was being held, which was being attended by U.S. President Donald Trump. The First Lady was also in attendance. In fact, Vice President J.D. Vance was also present, including other VIPs, which includes other celebrities, journalists. They were also in attendance at this event, and that is when this security breach happened. There was a shooter who managed to get weapons inside the hotel. What we're also learning is that he was a hotel guest. He was carrying a bag with these weapons, which included shotgun, handgun, and also many knives. And that is when the shooting incident happened. There were 4 to 5 loud bangs which were heard, and in a matter of a few seconds, the U.S. President, the First Lady, and the Vice President were safely evacuated from the venue. Now, this particular incident now raises some very big questions that need to be answered. How did the shooter breach the security? Because there's multi-layered security that is in place in such events where there has to be such a huge gathering, including so many VIPs, including the U.S. President himself. So how did the shooter manage to carry these weapons inside? How did the shooter manage to breach this multi-layered security? Is attack on Trump carried by a lone wolf? So if you talk about Donald Trump's remark on it, in the press briefing, he said that it is a lone wolf attack, but it is still being investigated. The investigation is still on if this attack on Trump, this assassination bid, was carried by a lone wolf or not. Is Iran linked to attack on Trump? So is Iran linked to this attack on Trump is also another question, because the timing is significant. This comes amid the West Asia war, and Gaurav Sawant is back with us. Gaurav, another question that is on everybody's mind is that is there any Iran war angle in this attack? To which Donald Trump outrightly said no, but is there a possibility?
There is nothing in public domain as of now to indicate or suggest there is an Iran hand in this. We do not know as of now what led to this assassination attempt. The individual has been taken into custody, and that is the best thing that could have happened as far as this investigation is concerned. Because had he been assassinated, had he been killed in the post-attempted assassination attempt, it would have been very difficult to collate things together. But in this case, he can be interrogated. The information that's coming in from White House right now also seems to indicate that the room that he was staying in at the Hilton, that room, the security forces have gone and they're checking things, from fingerprints to whatever stuff he had in the room. He checked into this hotel. He had booked this hotel weeks in advance, according to information, but this is yet to be officially confirmed. This is only information that one individual correspondent has been able to gather. That is the information came in that the suspect Cole, Thomas Cole, he had booked the room earlier, which means there was some bit of planning that went into this incident. How did he manage to get weapons inside the hotel would be a matter of investigation, and the hotel, perhaps Hilton, will also have to look at its security. Can an individual just walk into a hotel with weapons, whether they're assembled or not, a handgun and multiple other weapons, and then get them so close to where the president was holding a ballroom dinner for White House correspondents? All of this is known that this is where the White House dinner is going to take place. So was he able to book? Was there planning? Were there others involved in this planning? All of that now will be a matter of investigation, Anjali.
Gaurav, in fact, there are other big questions also that need answers. That how did the shooter breach security? It was a multi-layered security that was in place. But as my colleague Gaurav was mentioning, how the layers were lesser this time. There was a reduction in the layers. Why that happened, that also remains another big question. But how did the shooter manage to carry these weapons inside the hotel so close to the ballroom where this event was being held remains the top question that needs answers. And is this attack on Trump carried by a lone wolf? So this question was also asked to Donald Trump in his press briefing, to which he said that he feels that it's a lone wolf attack. But this still needs to be investigated. The investigation is still on. The suspect, the shooter, is in custody. He's being interrogated. So is this attack on Trump carried by a lone wolf? Because this was a probable assassination bid on Donald Trump yet again. Another question that is on everybody's mind is that is Iran linked to attack on Trump? Now, this question was also asked to Donald Trump, to which he outrightly said no. He does not think that there's any Iranian angle behind this attack. Will this now derail the truce talks? So the peace talks that are in limbo between US and Iran, and Donald Trump had already announced that he's calling off the Pakistan visit of the US delegation. So will this incident now derail the truce talks completely? That also remains another big question. Is the shooter linked to Democratic Party? Because we showed you the visuals, the documents of the US Election Commission, in which it clearly mentions how he was a part of the Kamala Harris campaign, the presidential campaign of Kamala Harris, who contested against Donald Trump in 2024. So is this shooter linked to Democratic Party? Are even White House events unsafe? That also remains one of the top questions that needs answers, because this was a White House Correspondents' Dinner which was being held, and this was the first time that Donald Trump was in attendance in his second term in this annual gala, which is held every year. And this was the first time that Donald Trump was attending in the second term of his presidency. So are even White House events unsafe remains another big question. And is US security apparatus failing? Because how did they not know about it? How did they did not get any intel? How did the security breach happen? Despite multiple layers of security being there in place, despite so many VIPs being in attendance, US President, the Vice President, the First Lady being in attendance, despite that, how did this happen? Does threat still hang over Donald Trump, or is the threat over? That is also another large question. That is the threat over, or is there a larger conspiracy and only one aspect, one part of the gang has been held, and there could be other attempts also which could be made. Gaurav Sawant continues to stay with us. Gaurav, that's a big question on everybody's mind. That is the threat over, or does the threat still hang over Donald Trump?
Well, considering this is the third assassination attempt on US President Donald Trump in the first year of his second presidency, it would indicate, and the manner in which he's going hammer and tongs after Iran, or intends to go hammer and tongs after Iran, does indicate that perhaps the threat perception will remain, if not intensify, in the months ahead. What would his strategy be? Because the blockade will remain in place. There are 3 aircraft carrier strike groups that are there. But if I may, there are some reports in the United States that are going into the background of this accused in the United States. He apparently, in one of his social media platforms, had mentioned himself to be an engineer and a scientist. His background is still a matter of investigation. 31-year-old from California. His house is being searched. We are told there are teams that are searching his house. His hotel room has already been searched. His mobile phone details are being ascertained. All of that, legal documentation being ascertained, taken, and then all these searches are on. So a lot more about his background will reveal, one, his political inclinations, as is being alleged that he's a Democrat who was linked to Kamala Harris's campaign. How was he linked to Kamala Harris's campaign? What was the level of his involvement in that? What was his role? All of this, bit by bit through the day and weeks ahead, we will have a lot more information. Will other assassination attempts happen? We really do not know. There is a threat assessment that's done periodically in the United States of America. But the president himself at that hurriedly called press conference said, one, because he's working, that's why these assassination attempts are happening. Had he not worked, assassination attempts would not happen. And two, he also refused to speculate whether it's linked to Iran or not. Perhaps too soon to know. Kash Patel and his team, FBI director and his team, once they carry out their investigation, a lot more will be known, Anjali.
Right, and Gaurav, talking about the Iranian angle also, to which Donald Trump had outrightly said no, that he does not feel that there's any Iran angle behind this attack. But he did mention that such attacks will not deter him from the Iranian war victory. And he also mentioned once again how Iran cannot have nuclear weapons.
You know, the way this war is being pursued by President Trump, there are other former U.S. Secretary of State has gone on record to say, John Kerry went on record to say that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, he had even come earlier with the same proposal, whether it was in the Obama administration, in the Bush administration, in the Biden administration. A similar proposal was put forward by Israel, because Israel views Iran as an existential threat, and they've sought action against Iranian nukes in the past. They've always felt that Iran has been weeks away from mating nuclear material with the missiles and enriching uranium enough to make it weapons grade. And they wanted it to be taken out in the past. President Trump was persuaded by Benjamin Netanyahu to carry out a military offensive. President Trump is of the opinion that they've succeeded to a very large extent in ensuring that Iran, one, is no longer is not a nuclear weapon state or will no longer be in a position to become one. They've pushed them back at least a decade. But he has a bigger plan. His plan is, as he's articulated it himself, is to ensure that they're able to take out that enriched uranium from Iran and keep it in American custody. And even yesterday we are told that Iran told Pakistan that is not possible. They will not let go of the highly enriched uranium, and it's more than 400 kilograms of enriched uranium to a certain grade, and there's much more that hasn't been enriched to whether it's 60% or by some accounts 80%. You technically to require 90% enrichment for it to be weapons grade. But when I had interviewed Professor Theodore Postel, who studied nuclear delivery mechanism very extensively, and is one of the biggest authorities on the subject at MIT, he said Iran should already be deemed a nuclear weapon state. That's the kind of enriched material they have. His appreciation was they already had enriched uranium, which was enriched 87%, which can make some kind of a bomb that will carry out massive devastation. So America wants that highly enriched uranium to be taken out of Iran, whether through persuasion, as was the attempt during Obama administration, or by force, as maybe the attempt in the Trump administration. Clearly, all indications are, with 3 aircraft carrier strike groups in the CENTCOM area of responsibility, we will see intensification of the blockade. At least America's aim is that you will the siege of the Strait of Hormuz will ensure that Iran becomes more amenable to talks. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen, but this battle is only set to intensify in the days and weeks ahead, especially given the statements that are now coming out of Israel vis-a-vis the Hezbollah.
Absolutely, Gaurav. And if you talk about Iran, on this demand that Iran must give up its nuclear ambitions, Iran remains defiant, and it has clearly said no. And remember, this was also one of the factors that led to the collapse of the first round of peace talks, which were held in Islamabad. Gaurav, do stay with us. And this is not the first time today that there was an assassination bid on Donald Trump. If you talk about the past 2 years, there have been past attacks also, past assassination bids also. Let's take a look at all of them. So in July 2024 in Butler, Pennsylvania, the first major attack at a campaign rally. Gunfire erupts. Donald Trump is struck. His ear grazed by a bullet. Panic spreads through the crowd as the United States Secret Service shields him and rushes him off stage. One attendee is killed and the shooter is neutralized. It becomes the most serious assassination attempt in decades. The next one happened in September 2024. Just 2 months later, it happened in Florida. A second threat emerges. Authorities move quickly on intelligence inputs. A suspect is intercepted before any public harm, and security agencies call it a potential assassination plot. Now, details remain limited, but the message is clear. The threat environment around Trump was escalating since 2024. Then comes today's attack, April 26, 2026, 2 years later, now that Donald Trump is the president, because in the past two attacks, he was still campaigning for the presidential race. He was not the president. Now he is the U.S. president. Now a third shock, gunfire near the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Trump is evacuated mid-event as chaos unfolds inside the venue. Security responds within seconds, and this was also hailed by Donald Trump. The shooter is pinned down and taken into custody. No injuries reported among the top leaders. In fact, no injuries are being reported at all. There was one officer, security service officer, who was shot at, but because he was wearing a bulletproof vest, he was saved. In fact, Donald Trump also had a conversation with him. He spoke to him, and he's safe and sound. And in fact, one of the correspondents, Olivia, who was present at the venue, also recorded a video while the shooting was happening. Let's take a look.
We were just seated over, I'm seated near one of the doors, and there. People are shouting USA now. I don't know, I just heard like 4 huge knocks by this door. Everyone. I don't know, maybe it's safe now, but
And Gaurav Sawant continues to stay with us. Gaurav, we told our viewers about the past attacks that have happened in a matter of just 2 years. 2 attacks happened in 2024 in just a matter of 2 months. But back then, Donald Trump was not the president. He was running for the U.S. presidential elections. And now when he's the president, another assassination bid has happened. And you also told us about how the multiple layer of security, that was also reduced this time. So despite there being a record of how there have been assassination bids on the president, why was there a lesser layer of security in this event?
So this would be a matter of investigation, and whether what is being speculated by a section of the media in the United States on lesser tiers of security, whether that's actually borne out by facts on ground. On standard operating procedures, were they followed, were they not followed? As far as this individual is concerned, Alan Cole, there are reports in the US media that seem to indicate that he was a mechanical engineer, he was a gamer, he was a game developer, he had a degree in engineering, and claimed to be a scientist. All of this yet to be verified, but all of this is information that is being put out right now based on his social media profile, speaking to people in California. I'm told there are bits and pieces of information that is trickling in. What was his link to the Democrats, again, is a matter of investigation, and perhaps in a couple of hours there will be more clarity. But you're absolutely right. The presidential, the first assassination attempt where a bullet nicked his ear, President Trump, his ear, was in Butler, Pennsylvania. That time he was a presidential candidate. The second time when it happened, he was not present at Mar-a-Lago, but he was already president that time, and Secret Service was able to neutralize the individual who jumped the perimeter fence and tried to get close, to that place where he ideally would have been, but wasn't there that time. And this now is the third attempt. In this case, the individual with multiple weapons was able to breach through one layer of security and get to the gate of that ballroom, but he wasn't able to enter the gate of the ballroom. This was there that he was targeted and taken into custody. His interrogation will reveal more information about how the weapons reached the Hilton Hotel, how he was able to assemble them, and apparently he assembled them. It is apparently visible on one of the terraces close to where the food was kept, where all the food that was coming in for this gathering, and apparently there was another gathering. So all the food was kept in one place, the trays were kept in one place, and that is where this individual was able to assemble his weapon. And then, as that 17-second video shows, he just charged through the Secret Service instead of stopping at that counter and presenting his card as others did. He charged through, and that is why within seconds he was taken into custody.
Right, and he even shot at one of the security service officer, but because he was wearing a bulletproof vest, he's safe. And Donald Trump also had a conversation with the officer. Gaurav, do stay with us. We're getting some more inputs on the background and identity of the shooter. So is the US shooter linked to Democratic Party? India today has accessed the shooter's Democrat Party link, and the documents, these are documents as per US Election Commission. The documents show that he was, the shooter was part of the Kamala Harris presidential campaign. The suspect will be produced in federal court next. He is already in custody, and he will now be produced in the federal court. 2 charges have been pressed against the shooter, Cole, who hails from California. And now what we're also learning is that India today has exclusively accessed this document. This is the US Election Commission document, which has details of the shooter. He's a 31-year-old man who is from California, and he was part of the Kamala Harris presidential campaign as well. So Democratic angle emerging in this story now. Gaurav Sawant continues to stay with us. Gaurav, we heard in the press briefing how Donald Trump mentioned that there has been there has been a surge in such cases, assassination attempts on Republican leaders, and now this angle emerging that the shooter was in fact a part of Kamala Harris presidential campaign.
This document is very interesting. The document that we're showing our viewers here on India Today, in fact, it gives more details about this individual, Alan Cole. He hails from Torrance, California. He's a teacher by profession. According to this, his employer is listed as C2 Education. And year to date mentions $25 US. The amount that he's contributed is $25. The receipt date is October 13, 2024. The memo says 2024 earmarked for Harris for president, and gives out his individual list. Reported on Form 3X so and so. The receipt information says the committee he's part of Act Blue. The political party list type says hybrid PAC with non-contribution account, non-qualified, and state says Massachusetts. So that's the information that they've been able to glean. He calls himself a gamer, he calls himself a scientist, but this document lists him as an educator. He's listed as a teacher in Torrance, in California.
Right, Gaurav, do stay with us. So this is the exclusive document that has been accessed by India Today, which mentions the name of the shooter, which is Alan Cole. He hails from Torrance in California. He's a teacher by profession, and he works at C2 Education. This is the document of the US Election Commission. And what is important to note is the Democratic link that has emerged from this document, because it can be seen that this part is highlighted, earmarked for Harris for president. So he was supporting Kamala Harris presidential campaign. He was very much a part of the Kamala Harris presidential campaign in 2024 elections. Now, we heard how Donald Trump mentioned how there has been a surge in the attacks, in the assassination bids on the Republican leaders. He also talked about the Charlie Kirk assassination. And with those remarks, now on the other hand, these documents emerging in which it can be clearly seen how there is a Democratic link also that the shooter has, how he was a part of Kamala Harris presidential campaign as well. So this major security breach and a probable assassination attempt has happened in Washington, D.C. For the viewers who are joining us now, there has been a major security breach. The shooter was able to carry these weapons despite there being multiple layers of security at the Hilton Hotel. And Donald Trump also briefed the media about what exactly unfolded and the quick response of the Secret Service in the safe evacuation of the First Lady Donald Trump, the First Lady Melania Trump, and also the Vice President J.D. Vance. In fact, some more inputs coming in. The Washington, D.C. mayor has also spoken on the White House press dinner security incident, saying that have no reason to believe anyone else was involved. And DC Mayor says that sole gunman rushed Secret Service in lobby. He was stopped by Secret Service agents. So even the Washington DC Mayor is claiming that this was a lone wolf attack and that they do not believe that there was involvement of others as well. Remember, similar question was taken with Donald Trump also. He was also asked a similar question, to which Donald Trump also said that he believes that this is a lone wolf attack and there's no involvement of others in this. So that's the update that is coming in. The Washington DC mayor has also reacted to this incident, saying that he does not this is a lone wolf attack and that nobody else was involved in this, and the sole attacker, the shooter, has been taken into custody. He will be produced before the federal court next, and the sole gunman rushed Secret Service in lobby and then he was stopped by the Secret Service agent. Gaurav Sawant continues to stay with us. Gaurav, after Donald Trump mentioned that he believes that this is a lone wolf attack, even the Washington DC mayor says that there's no reason to believe that there's anybody else's involvement in this. This was the sole gunman who was involved in this attack.
So prima facie, that is what appears to be the case. However, when a detailed investigation is carried out, would more details emerge, and especially on one, getting access to weapons, two, getting those weapons to the Hilton Hotel, three, who all was he in touch with? There are many other aspects of investigation which we do not know in the first couple of hours after the incident has just taken place. The Federal Bureau of Investigation and especially the counter-terrorism wing, when they carry out an investigation, they go into the complete background of an individual, of people he was in touch with, and look at the number of volunteers that they are speaking to right now. Kash Patel, the FBI director, gave details of individuals they were speaking to at the site itself, at the site of the incident. They gave out a number, a 1-800 number, asking them to whatever detail they may have on this individual from Torrance, California. Incidentally, in 2024, he was awarded Teacher of the Month, month of December 2024, which would, and then they would perhaps speak at the school. They would speak to individuals at his school to know what his politics were, what his leanings were, whether that in some way influenced him. The conversation with him will give out more details. The fact that he's been arrested is the biggest advantage as far as investigators are concerned, because then there is more first-hand information that will be available. Now, then it's only then will they know whether this is an individual case or could there be others that are linked to it. There are already those who say that all these are great in the United States of America. There are those who are saying that all this is great diversionary tactics, and then asking those questions about having less layers of security. So perhaps when more information is available in public domain, will we know if security was reduced at this gathering? Was it the case like that in previous years? All of that still remains in the realm of speculation right now.
Right. Gaurav, do stay with us. So as the investigation continues, a lot of big questions need to be answered. Was there any reduction in the layer of security at this particular venue? That also needs to be seen, that the investigation shall tell. But the gunman, the shooter, is now in custody. He will be produced before the federal court next. And the interrogation is also underway. The motive of this attack is still unknown. In fact, we're getting some more inputs on the story that we're closely tracking. So we're showing you these visuals from the exact moment when the gun firing happened, when there were these shots which were heard, and there you see it's Donald Trump. He was being, within seconds, the Secret Service rushed in and to evacuate Donald Trump, and he stumbled as well. He stumbled once because at that moment they were still trying to figure out what's exactly happened, because this was within seconds of hearing the gun firing. The Secret Services rushed in to evacuate Donald Trump, the First Lady, and also J.D. Vance. So we're showing you the video in which they're still confused, they're still wondering what's happening, and while they're being evacuated, it can be seen that Donald Trump even stumbled once, and there you see this is how they were evacuated within seconds of hearing the gun firing at the Hilton Hotel. So these are the visuals from, this is the moment of the attack. There was complete chaos inside the ballroom, and people were ducking under the table. They were taking cover under the table. In fact, at first, Donald Trump and Melania Trump also did the same, and within seconds, the security service rushed in, and they took Donald Trump, Melania Trump, and also J.D. Vance out of the venue. In fact, all key officials were evacuated one by one after that. So this is how the evacuation was done. In fact, Donald Trump in his press briefing also hailed the turnaround, the quick turnaround of the Secret Service and how they safely evacuated the key officials from the venue. Gaurav Sawant continues to stay with us. Gaurav, Donald Trump also mentioned how they had no intel about any such attack, how there were no prior threats or any warnings that such an attack was on the cards.
Well, this will raise serious questions about U.S. intelligence. Why were they not able to assess, and especially at a time when America is waging a war which is seen as hugely unpopular, including in the United States of America. For any public event, security anyways should have been much, much tighter. And that's point one. Point two, for presidential security, there is a standard operating procedure that is always in place in terms of the layers of security that are there, the frisking that is done. And if White House correspondents themselves are saying that this time the security was less, this time the quantities were less. When an individual enters a hotel, is he frisked, is he not frisked? Post 9/11, there were so many changes that were done. Are those protocols no longer being followed? Because when you check into a hotel, almost anywhere across the world, which is a victim of terror, and a country like the United States, especially a country that's waged multiple wars against countries like Afghanistan, like Iraq, now Iran. Earlier, there were operations that were carried out in other places. Security should have been much tighter. Why wasn't that the case? And we will still have to wait. More information to form that opinion. The manner in which the Secret Service were able to, one, whisk the president away from the site to a safe room, from that safe room then to White House. The fact that the president wanted to come back again and carry on with the process, all of this does indicate that it was so rushed that nobody had an inkling. But this would indicate, because standard operating procedures not being followed is the biggest flaw. There is a method to the madness, and if that method to that madness, or if that SOP is not followed, it does lead to problems. In the past, that Butler, Pennsylvania incident, there were so many questions asked about the Secret Service, and presidential candidate Trump asked those questions in terms of their training, their tactics. An individual in the team wasn't able to even holster a weapon effectively. The kind of SOPs that were followed, the rooftop that was not occupied, where the terrorist was, it just went on to indicate that everyone was taking their jobs very easy. After that, changes were brought in. If even after that people are not taking their jobs seriously, of course, in this case, the Secret Service was able to neutralize the individual, prevent him from entering the room and take him into custody. All of that is perfect. But the fact that an individual is able to get there with a weapon at a five-star hotel in a confined space, that raises many questions that still need to be answered.
Absolutely, a lot of big questions need to be answered. How was there this big security breach, that too at an event where Donald Trump himself was present, and not just Donald Trump, but there were other VIPs also. The Vice President was also present. The First Lady was also in attendance, and we saw how chaotic it became after the gunfiring, and how within seconds the evacuation was carried out. We are showing you the visuals of the quick response time, which is also being hailed by Donald Trump, that how in just a matter of seconds the Vice President J.D. Vance, as can be seen in these visuals, Donald Trump also being evacuated by the Secret Service. In fact, Donald Trump at first also stumbled. There you see Melania Trump crawling, and in fact we're getting some more breaking news on this. So gunfire, chaos and dash for booze. Reporters seen taking luxury booze amid the chaos. Chaos outside, and some grab liquor bottles. We'll show you the visuals also of the reporters grabbing the liquor bottles while there was firing that was going on. Outrage as booze taken during security scare. Luxury liquor lifted amid the evacuation. So this shows the priorities of some of the reporters, some of the correspondents who were present over there while the gunfiring was on, while there was complete chaos inside the ballroom. Some reporters can be seen grabbing luxury liquor amid the security scare. While the shooting incident happened, these reporters can be seen taking luxury booze amid all the chaos. As you can see in this video, the reporters are can be seen lifting this luxury booze that was available at this event inside the ballroom. So while some ran for their lives, they were hiding under the tables. They were covering themselves under the table, ducking under the table. There were others for whom the priorities were different. They were grabbing luxury booze amid this entire chaotic situation, amid the security scare inside the ballroom. Now this also raises some serious question. It raises broader concerns about professional ethics during such a crisis situation. But as you can see in these visuals, the reporters can be seen grabbing liquor amid the security scare, while others are looking for cover under the table. These reporters can be seen grabbing luxury liquor. So as the investigation continues into the attacker of Donald Trump's event, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the attacker who went ahead to open fire in the hall was quickly apprehended by the security officials and is now in custody. Post the shootout, it was Trump who labeled him as a mentally sick person. After being taken into custody, the shooter has been identified. Cole Thomas Allen, a 31-year-old resident of California, is now at the center of this case as investigators begin to piece together his background, movements, and also possible motive. Now, questions now swirling over a possible political link, whether the U.S. shooter had any connection to the Democratic Party. India Today has accessed documents suggesting a link with papers indicating the suspect may have been part of Kamala Harris' presidential campaign. The accused is expected to be produced in federal court next. Authorities took the shooter in custody from the Washington Hilton Hotel itself, where the incident unfolded, post which security was tightened. Investigators move into high gear now. During his address after the attack, President Donald Trump called it a suspected lone wolf attack and also said that the attacker, Cole Thomas Allen, was overpowered with the swift action by security, preventing further escalation at the Hilton Hotel. And interim DC Police Chief Carroll says that the suspect was armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives. The motive and intended target still remain unclear, and the shooter, believed to be a hotel guest, was quickly taken into custody and has been sent to hospital for evaluation. So we'll tell you more about the shooter, what we know so far about the shooter behind this Trump assassination bid. His name is Cole Thomas Allen. He's a 31-year-old man who is a resident of California. He hails from Torrance in California. He has been registered as a Democrat. So this interesting angle now emerging that he has links with the Democratic Party. He's registered as a Democrat, and he was also a part of Kamala Harris' presidential campaign is also what can be seen in the document that India Today has exclusively accessed. It is the U.S. Election Commission document. This is as per the U.S. Federal Election Commission document, these details that his name is Cole Thomas Allen. He's 31-year-old by profession. He's a teacher, educator, and he hails from Torrance in California. He has been registered as a Democrat, and he was also a part of Kamala Harris' presidential campaign in 2024. So this major security breach and a probable assassination bid on Donald Trump has happened once again. This is not the first time that there has been an assassination bid on Donald Trump, because if we take a look at the last 2 years, this is the third such attempt that has been made. In 2024 also there were 2 attempts that were made on Donald Trump. These were assassination bids, but at that time Donald Trump was not the US president. He was running for the presidential elections. He was a candidate, and one of those attacks happened while he was addressing a rally in 2024 in Butler, Pennsylvania, where it was a close shave for Donald Trump. This happened in July 2024 in Butler in Pennsylvania, and just 2 months after that incident in September 2024, it was Florida when this attack happened, though Donald Trump was not at his Mar-a-Lago residence, and the security service apprehended the shooter as well. And now cut to 2026 when Donald Trump is in fact the president, and this was the White House Correspondents' Dinner. This was a White House event which was being held at the Hilton Hotel. That is when this assassination bid took place. That is when this shooting incident is being reported. So the first one happened in July 2024 in Butler, Pennsylvania. The first major attack at a campaign rally. Gunfire erupts. Donald Trump is struck. His ear grazed by a bullet, and panic spreads through the crowd as the United States Secret Service shields him and also rushes him off stage. And one attendee was also killed in this rally. As you can see the visuals on your extreme left, this was what happened in Pennsylvania. On extreme right, you can see what happened today at the White House event in the Hilton Hotel in Washington, D.C. And we're now being joined by Sudhanshu Kaushik, who's a part of IDA Center for Youth Policy. He's joining us from Washington, D.C. Sudhanshu, big security lapse and a probable assassination bid also. And this is not the first time that we're seeing this assassination bid on Donald Trump. How do you look at all these developments? How was it possible for a person to carry so many weapons, including a shotgun, handgun, so many knives to this venue where so many VIPs, including the president himself, are in attendance?
Yeah, Anjali, it's quite unfortunate what's happened, and at a time when everything was so politically charged, this event to come in just makes the situation a little bit more in turmoil. Just a few clarifications, Anjali. Right now, with the information we have, right, and this is going by what has been validated by different sources, clarifications are needed. So this happened at the Hilton, D.C. This is, an actual hotel where people stay, and then the ballroom, which is, attached to the building that the event happens. Security was on par as it is in all White House correspondent dinners, right? And the correspondent dinners are not an official White House event. It's actually an association that is separate from the White House. It's the press pool. It is made up of the press pool, which covers it. And so these are outside of the White House, obviously in tandem with the administration if they decide to come in, but it celebrates the journalists who cover, or the press that covers the White House and policy and politics. And it's a celebration. Now, the hotel has done a lot of events, especially the White House Correspondent Dinner events, but it's not the only VIP event that the hotel takes place in, right? They have multiple events with multiple line of succession individuals attending at the same time throughout the course of the year for many, many, many years. As you said, rightfully said, the individual, the shooter that's been identified, was living or staying in the hotel, checked in, and with, the guns, etc., whatever he had. That's what, we've been told. And so I don't think necessarily there was, first of all, any White House Correspondents' Dinner done differently. If you ask people who have frequented it many, many times, the line, the security, the checks, the ticket that you need was similar to every single year that's held before, with or without the president attending. The line of security actually where they actually check you is not necessarily just through the hotel, but specifically before you enter the ballroom as well, right? So I don't think when it comes to the security protocol, obviously there was a breach because this has happened, but this is the standard that's been placed for many, many years. It's not that today or this time was a different exception. On the note of, what's happened, I actually think that President Trump did a fair job in the press conference afterwards. I think that he wasn't antagonizing. He was very clear, and something that you don't hear from President Trump that often is he was saying that this is a time of unity. He didn't use it as an election kind of poll speech. He actually came out and said, listen, both Democrats and Republicans were at risk today. and political violence needs to stop. And factually, yeah, he has been the victim or the target of political violence, not only in his presidency but beforehand as well. Does that mean that only President Trump is attacked? No. Political violence statistically has been an increase in the United States in the past 12 to 15 years, and has both equally targeted Democrats and Republicans. The second thing I want to clarify, and I'm sorry that I'm speaking too much, but I think this is really important for your viewers. You were showing the Federal Election Commission donation aspect on live viewers to India today. Just wanted to clarify that he might have worked for the Democratic Party. He might not have. What you showed to your viewers was just a donation. There's a lot of transparency when it comes to donating to political parties, individuals, etc. here in the United States. So the document you showed was an FEC, and he donated $25 to the Kamala Harris campaign. Now, he might be a registered Democrat, but that doesn't necessarily mean he was working for Kamala Harris's campaign or the Democratic Party, unless you have more information other than what you were showing in the proof. So I would just be careful in terms of what you're saying and what you're suggesting, because that's the least thing we need right now. I live a mile away from the White House. It's eerily silent. It's a Saturday night. My neighborhood is always loud on a Saturday night. There's no one outside. And so I think that it is eerily silent. People are, in their homes. People aren't coming out. And we just need to be careful about what sort of things we're spreading within DC, within the United States, but also in India, where there's a lot of people who have families here.
All right, Sudhanshu, do stay with us. We're showing our viewers how there could be a possible Democratic link, not necessarily as per the document of the Election Commission. And although that still needs to be verified if he is in fact a part of the Democratic Party or not. Sudhanshu, do stay with us. We're getting some more inputs. In fact, we'll now show our viewers a video the moment Trump and Vance were evacuated from the stage. We are showing you the visuals of when this happened, and Donald Trump also stumbled while he was being evacuated, and then the aides helped Donald Trump get up when he stumbled during the evacuation. And it was the Secret Service that evacuated Donald Trump within seconds of the gunfiring when the loud bangs were heard, and within seconds the Secret Service rushed onto the stage and evacuated Donald Trump, the First Lady Melania Trump, and also J.D. Vance, the Vice President. All the three were evacuated from the stage. This happened within seconds. Even if you look at J.D. Vance in the video, he's completely confused. He's still wondering what's happening, because all this happened in a fraction of seconds, while they were still wondering what exactly has happened, what exactly has unfolded. And that is when they were evacuated safely from the venue. And this was also hailed by Donald Trump in his speech, in his press briefing about what unfolded at the Hilton Hotel, in which he hailed the quick turnaround time of the Secret Service in the safe evacuation of all the key officials. Remember, after Donald Trump and Melania Trump and also J.D. Vance, all the key officials were evacuated one by one by the Secret Service. So these are the visuals of the evacuation of Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump. You can see in these visuals how they were sitting on the stage, and that is when the gunfiring was heard. There were 4 to 5 loud bangs which were heard, and that is when everyone started looking for cover. Even Donald Trump can be seen looking for cover, and there was complete chaos inside the ballroom. And that is when, within seconds, the Secret Service came to the stage and they forcefully pulled J.D. Vance, and they evacuated Donald Trump, Melania Trump, and J.D. Vance also. In fact, while evacuation, Donald Trump also stumbled once, which is when the aides helped him to get up, and they were then safely evacuated, and no injuries have been reported after this incident. Everyone was safe and sound. In fact, there was one Secret Service officer who was shot at in the lobby, because this firing was reported in the lobby outside the ballroom area where this event was being held. There was one officer who was shot at, but he's also safe because of the bulletproof vest that he was wearing. And Donald Trump also spoke with the officer who was shot at, and Donald Trump said that he was safe because of the bulletproof vest, and that he's now He's now safe and healthy. And there are no injuries that were reported. In fact, he thanked the Secret Service for ensuring everybody's safety. And Sandeep Unithan is now joining us with more details on this. Sandeep, there are big developments that have come to the fore. The identity of the shooter has been identified. He has been taken into custody. He hails from California, and there's also a possible Democratic link that is also emerging, because we're showing our viewers the visuals of the Federal Election Commission document in which it shows that how he made a donation to Kamala Harris' presidential campaign as well.
Yes, Anjali, absolutely. And, there have been attempts like this in the past also. You've seen, the political climate in the United States is extremely polarized these last couple of years. And we've seen that in the previous, assassination attempts as well, where attempts were drawn to, try and link the potential assassins with one political party or the other. So it's not at all surprising what we're seeing now. It is a very polarized political climate in the US, and a lot of the statements that were coming out immediately after this seem to reflect that, with the fact that, how quickly the state of the shooters, the origin of the shooter, his political background, the state that he was from, which is basically a democratic state. And you will see this in the days ahead, Anjali, because President Trump is facing an extremely difficult election. The midterm elections are due in October of this year, just a couple of months from now, and you're going to see a very politically charged, climate right now. And this wannabe assassin is going to be used politically, most likely, it looks like, to illustrate that, the Democrats are out to get President Trump. And this has already, begun that political process in that sense. It's remarkable what happened today, the last couple of hours, that a potential assassin came within shooting distance of, one of the most sensitive spots in Washington right now, which is where President Trump and his entire cabinet were meeting with the members of the press. And the fact that a heavily armed shooter, now it emerges that he was carrying multiple weapons, multiple knives as well. The fact that a potential shooter got within, literally shooting distance of a place like this suggests that it is a very big breach of security, but at the same time, the security forces managed to stop him before he entered the ballroom. But as you pointed out, there is going to be a huge politicization of this potential assassination attempt on the president, and you will see a lot more debates emerging in the months ahead, precisely for the fact that you have very important midterm elections in the United States right now.
Right, and Sandeep, what is also being discussed is the choice of venue, because Donald Trump clearly stated how this was not a very secure venue to hold a White House event, and he's also talked about how these events must be held in the White House premises. And now another important detail that is emerging is that this attacker was in fact a hotel guest.
Well, yes, and that right in his opening remarks as well, President Trump mentioned the fact that this was not a secure location. And that he would have liked to hold this in a secure location, like the ballroom, this grand ballroom that is being planned in the east wing of the White House. It's a very controversial project in the United States right now, because it is a project that's going to take a few years to complete, but it is believed to cost upwards of $300 million. It's a very large ballroom where they've basically knocked down the east wing of the White House, and they've created this huge ballroom over there, which is under construction right now. It is something like 60,000 square feet, and it is a very large ballroom. As President Trump said today, that this is a secure space, it is bulletproof glass, it's drone-proof, all of those things. So indicating, that this is a place that he would like to hold events like this. So I think there are many messages in what you saw, what you will see actually in the statements that are coming out today, where of course there is the political angle to that, the fact that there is a war on in Iran right now. There's a ceasefire on, but it's a very shaky ceasefire. There are negotiations with Iran, on-off negotiations. There are midterm elections on right now. President Trump's ratings are pretty low, right? So it's a politically, it's highly sensitive right now, politically in the United States, whether you're looking at the external situation or the internal politics of the US, Anjali.
Indeed, Sandeep. In fact, if you could also tell us about the timeline of the response which is being hailed by Donald Trump. He hailed the Secret Service in the press briefing and expressed gratitude also for the safe evacuation. What happened from the first shot which was heard to the detention of the shooter?
Well, the shooter appears to have penetrated multiple layers of security. And as you mentioned, that he was staying in the hotel itself, which points to the fact that he had planned all of this beforehand. So the fact that he was already staying in the hotel would imply that he already penetrated several layers of security by staying in the hotel itself. Now the questions to be asked are, how did he manage to smuggle all those weapons inside? How did he get past the hotel security? It's not easy to bring in shotguns and pistols and knives. So how did he do that? These are questions that are going to be asked. It appears that this person was a lone wolf from what we're hearing. It's a lone wolf. But if a lone wolf could, plan something as significant as this, that he would very easily penetrate, multiple layers of security, get within literally shooting distance of the president and his cabinet, then there are big questions that need to be asked about the fact that if it was an organized assassination attempt, how close could they get? Now, what we know is that the shooter, as we heard, he was in the hotel. He managed to get in, and he literally ran through several layers of security, and he was intercepted. He was taken down. He managed to fire a couple of shots. That shotgun was assembled by him. He pulled it out of a bag and he's believed to have assembled it. Now, a shotgun, a 12-gauge shotgun, which is a standard shotgun that's used by police and law enforcement and by civilians, you can break it up into about 4 or 6 parts and it can be assembled very quickly. It's a modular, kind of firearm. So he assembled that most likely at the venue and then went on, tried to shoot his way past the barriers. And he failed. He was taken down, and then we saw the counter-assault team basically taking over, the people in the ballistic vests and the helmets who covered the stage as President Trump and key members of his cabinet were whisked away to safety. So the entire Secret Service drill then kicked in, which is to protect the president, take the principal away from the scene of the potential assassination, and of course, a complete lockdown of the area to ensure that there were no further, threats, that possible fact that there could be other shooters as well. So this entire drill came through. It fell into place to protect Trump and his key members of his cabinet.
All right, Sandeep, thank you so much for all those details and for that context of what exactly unfolded inside the ballroom area of the Hilton Hotel. So, US President Donald Trump and other top US leaders were evacuated from the White House Correspondents' Dinner after gunshots were fired at the event. Secret Service agents rushed in as guests ducked under the tables amid the scare. So President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump were rushed out of the White House Correspondents' Association dinner after loud bangs triggered panic and also a massive security response. Donald Trump appeared to lose his footing and stumble while being rapidly evacuated from the White House Correspondents' Dinner venue after a gun scare triggered panic and a full-scale security response inside the ballroom area. A motorcade believed to be carrying the president was seen leaving the vicinity of the event after the shooting incident. All officials protected by the Secret Service were evacuated. Those in attendance included Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and many other leaders of the Trump administration on a night when the nation is at war with Iran. And some more inputs coming in. Moment devastated. Erica Kirk evacuated from venue. We'll show you the visuals. Trump supporter Erica Kirk, who's also the wife of Charlie Kirk, who was also assassinated. Erica Kirk breaks down. She's in tears after shooting at the White House event. And she breaks down in the emotional moment. We'll show you the visuals. These are the visuals of Erica Kirk coming out of the ballroom venue, completely in tears, crying. And she says, just want to go home. So Erica Kirk cries as she leaves the White House Correspondents' Dinner and can be heard saying, I just want to go home. So these are the visuals of Erica Kirk, the wife of Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated earlier. And she's a Trump supporter. And while coming out of the venue of the ballroom area, she was seen crying and she was saying, I just want to go home.
I just want to go find Suzanne. 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 I just want to go find Suzanne.
And with that, we're now slipping into a very short break. We'll be right back with more updates on the other side.
You are watching India Today.
के करीब लाग स्थल बांबू एंटरप्राइज
national identity, turning the United States into a colony of China and India. He added that for a tech high job in California, one has to be from India or China because of almost all the internal mechanisms that are set up to run by Indians and Chinese. The US Embassy in India rushed to control the damage. The embassy spokesperson said that President Trump has said that India is a great country with a good friend of mine at the top. The spokesperson did not specify where and when Trump made these remarks. Trump's endorsement of Savage's podcast did not go down very well in India. The MEA said that